So when I first set this thing up, I had a lot of, there's quite a bit of worms active and devouring the food scraps. As you can see, they're looking pretty healthy, moving around. So our kids love to feed our chickens live worms. So today I'm going to build a live worm bin, because typically when these are sitting in the grass, our kids will go and move them and find the worms that are underneath. Well, I don't want them to continue to move them, because the kids, as the plants get bigger, the kids could break plants or whatnot, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to build a worm bin, and that way our chickens will have access to live worms. So here's the totes I bought that we're going to make the worm bin out of. There's the lids. Got 3 lids. I'll only end up using 1. Got some cardboard to put over the top of the worm sanctuary, so to speak. There's the red worms that I'm going to use. Here are some newspapers that I'm going to use. You can use the colored pages as long as they're not the glossy type. So as you can see, I've separated out the colored or regular newspaper pages that are not glossy from the glossy types. And so here in a little bit I'll shred those up, and that'll be what we use for the worm bedding at the bottom of the totes and stuff. So seeing I'm doing a 3-bin setup, I kind of got the idea from doing research online, and then I watched Kevin at Epic Gardening. He did a 3-bin system, and I'm kind of adapting what he used. So that one there will be the bottom one, and then these 2 here are going to be the ones that I rotate the scraps in and all that stuff, and you'll see that in other videos down the road. But I'm going to drill 1/4-inch holes by basically 2 inches on the bottom, and then I'll drill some holes around the edge for some aeration, and then I'll start putting it together. What I got is the bottom bin, no holes, no nothing right now. And then I've got the 2 buckets that have the holes for aeration, the drain holes, and so that they can also crawl up. I'm gonna set them inside one another like that. So for right now, the top bin is gonna be where we're gonna add the food to. And once the food and all the stuff builds up to a certain point, I'll swap the top and the middle bucket, and then we'll add to the top bin, and then they'll start crawling up from the second into the top one after the food. So I'm going to start out, I've got the shredded up newspaper. I'm going to take and dip some in the water and kind of get a little saturated. You want a moist bedding for them in the bottom. So take that newspaper, wet it, and then wring it out a little bit, and then spread it out. And the shredding obviously is so that they can wiggle through and they're not trapped underneath. So I've got a bucket of water, as you can see right here. So I'm soaking it in and then spreading it out in here. You're going to want to keep this moist, depending on where you set it and stuff. may determine how fast it dehydrates or dries out, so you may have to add moisture to it occasionally, but if you keep it in a garage or something like that, it should be pretty self-sufficient. And I think they typically enjoy living around 50 to 70 degree weather, so in a controlled environment would be nice. All right, I've got a bunch of the shredded in the bottom, the shredded paper, and so I'm going to go ahead and take the worms we got from the store. They're red worms, also called red wiggler worms. They're very prolific in the sense of vermicomposting. You can use nut crawlers from what I hear, but red wigglers are probably one of the better styles. Just take the stuff and just go ahead and dump it right on in. All their current scrap stuff in there, the vermicomposting stuff that they've created, their worm castings as it's called. I'm just going to dump them right on that moist newspaper, and then start off with some just household stuff. You don't want dairy or meats or anything like that, but your kitchen scraps, coffee grounds, eggshells. I crushed up the eggshells pretty good. Got onions, paper towels. Just dump it right on top of the worms. They'll start doing their thing. So here's the final installation. As you can tell, it's a shallow lip there, so a lot of the juice will be able to go into the overflow. And here's how I've got it installed from this side. Hopefully that'll seal up well. And here's the little flip valve that I'll just be able to pop open, drain it, and then hopefully easily put it back to stop it. And we'll see. Update to come.
So while Eric is getting ready to show you guys what he's put together, I just want to publicly say out loud how thankful I am for my husband. So, you know, a couple weeks ago we were sitting around and the kids are like, you know, I want to feed the chickens some worms. So we, you know, go to start looking for worms. And I said something like, man, it would be really nice to have a worm farm. Just because we have spoiled this girl something fierce. Anyway, within 3 days, Eric is making a list and we're going to Lowe's, and he's putting together a worm farm. So anyway, I mean, this man is such a gift, and I'm thankful for him.
So I want to give you a 2-week update on our worm bin. So I am by no means an expert. I'm experimenting, learning as I go. So this may not be perfect in any way, but I just want to show you a couple-week update. So here, as you can see, the setup, and I've got a light here that I shine on the top of the lid, so it imitates daylight, so that keeps the worms from trying to crawl out when I'm not around or whatnot, or at night. So I'll just go ahead and slide this back and kind of give you a peek under the hood. So this is the water and juice catchment container. This is the bin that I now have all the worms and the food scraps in. This top bin just has some moist newspaper in case they happen to crawl up. They'll crawl around and hopefully go back down. And then I'll just kind of give you some close-ups if you want to come in. So as you can see, here's some moist newspapers. I don't see any worms up here at the moment, which is a good thing.
Oh.
So here is the...
It smells very earthy and moist.
And so let's see if we can find any worms down in here doing their thing. So when I first set this thing up, I had a lot of, there's quite a bit of worms active and devouring the food scraps. As you can see, they're looking pretty healthy, moving around. So when I first set this thing up, I had way too many food scraps in here and it was getting hot. It was composting itself and not letting the worms do it. And so I had to, you know, lessen the amount of food scraps so that it wasn't overheating. But
so you
yeah.
just took out food scraps and added in some
more newspaper, some of the
dark matter,
brown,
yeah,
carbon type versus the nitrogen fixing type stuff that the food gives off. And so yeah, things are looking good. Hopefully they continue to reproduce. They're down in the bedding there, so hopefully we'll find some eggs in the very near future in here. Juices and stuff are.
Excuse me while I go gag.
Do you have one hanging out down here? So I'll go ahead and send it back home. Alright, so I've got 2 worms here and just kind of explain what I found online about breeding worms and such. So obviously if they're overpopulated, they may not produce as much babies and eggs and whatnot, but when it's time, these worms will mate. So worms themselves have both organs that they need. They're hermaphrodite type animals, so they both have male and female organs inside. And so when it's time, these areas, stinkers, these areas right in here will become, I guess, more orange and a little more enlarged. And they have their organs, their sex organs, which are like right there, those things right there. And then back here, they'll secrete a sticky substance, and they will end up laying like this, mating, laying eggs that are fertile, and then therefore the eggs will become new babies. And that's what we're hoping for in the near future with these very active worms, as you can see. So
thank you guys for watching this week's video.
Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think, what you're doing.
Subscribe to our channel. We would love the support. And
share this video with friends if you want to help us out.
And we'll see you guys next week.